I don't know if you guys know Francesca Fiorentini, I think her name is. She was on TYT, and she's been very critical of Cenk and Anna since their rightward shift. Well, Cenk just banned her from TYT, the TYT network, completely, fascinatingly. So he even did this whole video about it. I want to watch the video that he did where he talks about this right here. We're going to hit it.
Recently, Francesca Fiorentini asked us.
We're going to hit it, but first I want to just read her texts or her, her tweets or her blues or her whatevers. Breaking, Cenk has announced I am no longer allowed to appear on the damage report with John Idarola based on disagreements with TYT's main hosts. And yes, calling Cenk a b*** for engaging with Dr. Phil, a guy who's joining ICE raids on innocent people. It's been a good over 10-year run at TYT, but indeed, it's time for both of us to move on. There's too much at stake. There are still many good people at TYT. Sadly, they're not in charge. A few are older women, people of color, and trans people. Smell you later. Cenk is still doing a 20-minute, very Kasparian takedown of me to their 6 million subscribers. Anyway, I got a fraction of that, making a fraction of the money. Alas, the Frantifa is strong. Holler at your girl. Regarding this whole thing, Cenk makes a claim at the start of this video about why he's doing this, and I think it's just kind of underhanded and dirty. So let's listen, and we'll talk about it.
Off the network, and we happily agreed to that. And today,
but if you're unfamiliar with like the way all of this is structured and who these people are, I'll explain in a second.
The Bituation Room, off the network.
Bituation Room is Francesca's show,
and we happily agreed.
I should just step all the way back.
Recently, Francesca Fiorentini asked us at TYT to take her podcast, The Bituation Room, off the network, and we happily agreed to that. And today, I'm going a little further, and I'm going to take Francesca off the network entirely.
I don't know if Francesca actually asked for that. I have no idea. And I've noticed that like Cenk and Anna have been flat out lying about things sometimes, weirdly, like not something I expected. But yeah, that's been happening oddly. So Cenk says that he's going to take her off of TYT. The two things are different. Him removing her from TYT isn't just removing her from the TYT channel, like with 6 million subscribers. They aren't just a YouTube channel. They're a massive network, and I'll explain more in a second.
So you won't see her on any of the TYT shows going forward. So I want you guys to know why I'm doing that and how this whole situation isn't really about Francesca. It's about TYT, our community, and what we stand for. And so we're for open minds and open hearts. And so I want,
like, it doesn't really seem like that. I'm sorry.
All of you to know that. And I want to build a community that believes in that and invites people in that believe in the same things. And by the way, if you don't believe in the same things and you say, no, I have a strict ideology and I have no open mind about that, no problem. There are tons of shows out there for you guys.
So let me just clarify what's happening here. TYT, the way it operates is it started as a YouTube channel, TYT, or the Young Turks. And over the years, I think they've been on since like, God, the earliest days, like 2008 maybe. Over the past 15 or so years, however many, they've added Facebook pages and TikTok pages and Snapchat and everything else. And not only have they added all of those things for TYT specifically, but they act as a network. Networks in YouTube are famously very predatory. I don't know if TYT operates this way. I'm not sure how they operate, but networks have been trying to get me to join for like since the earliest days. They always try to get YouTubers when they're small. And they basically have you send all of your money to their company, like direct your AdSense revenue to them, and then they write you a check, and they keep 15% of what you earn. Super chats, AdSense, everything. It all goes through them. And some networks have been known to skim off the top, keep all of the super chats, for example, that type of deal. It, like really, really dirty stuff. Ethan Klein dealt with this problem with his network. Anyway, in trade, they claim that they will, basically you act as a W-2 employee, which makes it a lot easier than being a self-employed person. And they also claim to have access to YouTube internal individual people. Like, they know people inside of YouTube. So what did TYT offer as a network? As far as I can tell, they offered an existing large platform that they would use to advertise you and your show. So Kyle Kolinske was like part of the TYT network for years. And basically, I don't know how the money situation worked. I'm assuming that his money probably went through TYT, and they posted his clips on their shows and added that to his revenue and stuff like that. That's my guess. I don't think TYT was as predatory as most other networks. If I had to guess, they probably actually gave something back, like attention that in this political sphere specifically that is actually very valuable. But TYT as a network has very much fallen apart in the past 5 years. Anna and Cenk, the two people that have effectively started, have been there since the very beginning anyway. Cenk started it, I believe. Those two have been moving further and further right wing, and they've been spreading like very aggressive right wing lies and bullshit stories and stuff. And it's been really bizarre to watch it all take place. Anyway, Kyle Kolinske left TYT, to my knowledge, as a network. You sign like a 1-year contract, typically with most networks. And Kyle just, I'm assuming, didn't renew his contract. David Pakman, I believe, was TYT for like a month and then just walked away from it. They have some TYT, it's mutually beneficial. It's symbiotic in that when YouTubers get a little bit larger, TYT is releasing their videos on their network, and that draws attention for TYT. So it's not like completely parasitic on either side. Anyway, one of their shows, one of TYT's shows, is The Damage Report with John Iadarola. And John Iadarola was a TYT host for many years. I'm not sure if he still is or what, but he is, his show is part of the network, The Damage Report. And he completely controls it. He completely controls the stories and the everythings. But now Cenk is saying that Francesca cannot appear on The Damage Report. So it's taking a step past, it's kind of overstepping the bounds as far as I can tell. As a YouTube insider, that's my best understanding of the situation, and I think that's like really messed up. Francesca banning Cenk from her channel, which she didn't, but her doing that is not the same as Cenk banning Francesca from the network, because it's a network. It's gigantic, and it covers a lot of YouTube channels. So anyway, that's my read on it. I think this is really, really wrong. I don't blame Cenk for not wanting people to like trash them constantly on their network or on their affiliated shows. So maybe ban people from talking about that subject on your channels. If the Damage Report wants to talk about it, they can, and you can choose not to air those videos on the TYT network. But the Damage Report is an independent show. They should have editorial control, seems to me. Anyway, that's the situation. I'm just not really happy with this decision at all. But let's listen to Cenk try to justify his decision for like 20 minutes straight. My God, I'm getting messed up over here.
So first of all, we've had some disagreements. I certainly have with some of the far left, but I think they've been relatively small. But if you think that they've been large, no problem. So they've been around the issue of crime. Did crime rise between 2019 and 2023? Well, that's a fact. It did.
Between when? 2019 and what?
Between 2019 and 2023? Well, that's a fact. It did.
Okay, I'm not sure what he's talking about or if this is accurate or what this has to do with anything. I'm not sure why I care if crime rose at that time. So?
But it's okay. We could have different interpretations of it. That's not an issue at all.
I think he's saying that that's Biden's fault. I'm just like, I don't understand what he's trying to communicate here. I don't know why I should care.
We certainly are against police abuse, and we've fought against it. I would argue at least as much as any show on the planet, and perhaps a lot more. And I take great pride that Benjamin Crump, among others, said that Trayvon Martin would not have gotten anywhere near the national coverage that he did if it wasn't for the Young Turks.
Benjamin Crump is famously the lawyer that handles pretty much all of the police abuse cases against black people, including Trayvon Martin and many others. He's pretty legit.
So nevertheless, we could have disagreements about specific policy issues, and we do on slogans and framing, et cetera. For example, defund the police, Latinx. These are normal disagreements within any community.
Defund the police. Here's the problem with what Cenk is doing. He's framing this in a right-wing way. He's framing it the way that a Republican frames it, when that's not actually what it means. That's not what it ever meant. Defund the police doesn't mean get rid of police, fire police. It means replace police with social workers where it's appropriate, because police represent authority and force. And when you're dealing with homeless people or like runaway teens or sexual abuse cases, you don't need force. That's the wrong item to bring to the fight, if you will. So when people said defund the police, that's what they meant. And I'm all for that, absolutely. I take crime just as seriously as anybody else. Crime is bad, yes. But crime is, largely it's affected heavily by poverty and drug use. They're all correlated with each other. So if we fix poverty and drug use, crime will go down. Putting more force on the streets isn't fixing the problem. Like, crime will continue to pop up. When you catch somebody high up in the drug market or whatever, you're just creating a power vacuum that someone else is going to fill. You need to eliminate people's need or desire to commit crimes like that by putting more money into the system, by redistributing it from billionaires, for example. Anyway, he can bust out these one-liners, defund the police is stupid, and it takes me 10 minutes to explain why he's wrong on that. This is one of the biggest problems with TYT. He just repeats nonsense trash that he doesn't understand, ? And I have to spend time fixing it and explaining it. So defund the police is complete nonsense. Nobody actually wanted to increase crime, as Republicans are framing it. And the other thing, Latinx, does anybody really give a shit? I think using the word Latinx is stupid. You know why? Because my wife speaks Spanish, and we're adjacent to many Spanish-speaking Mexican people in our family. Every person that I have come across in that community says that's not how the language operates. That's not at its core, that's not how the language works. And it's a nonsensical word. If you want to use a word that's gender neutral, it's not Latinx. It's something else. It's Latin, maybe. Use the neuter word, since Spanish is a gendered language. Anyway, Latinx seems like a word that people would suggest who don't understand what the Spanish language is about or how it operates. So I just went through that whole thing, basically agreeing with Cenk, and no one is accusing me of being a right-winger. Why are they accusing Cenk of it? You know why? Because he's taking the right-wing framing of the issue and presenting it as reality. He's saying extreme left wants to eliminate gendered language in Spanish completely and switch to Latinx. We should be removing the O or the A, Latino or Latina, from all words and replacing it with X. Nobody says that. Nobody's ever said that. Nobody believes that. And if they do, I disagree with them. Okay, next.
And I certainly would never want to shut that down, because we're, again, for open minds. And of course, we've had some disagreements on the issue of transgender rights. Let me just say quickly what my position is, because a lot of people outside of the network have been misleading you about this.
The problem isn't the positions. You can reasonably disagree with certain things, as long as your disagreement is not based on right-wing extreme framing.
So I'm for 100% constitutional rights for transgender Americans, because why? They're Americans, just like.
Okay, great. Then we agree, right? It's where he injects the right-wing framing that it becomes a problem.
the rest of us, and they should have the same exact rights as us. They should be protected in bathrooms. They should definitely be allowed to serve in the military. And I happen to think that they should be allowed to play, transgender girls should be allowed to play in girls' sports in high school.
Okay, pause for a second here. Now think about what he's just said. He's approaching this situation assuming that trans people have an inherent advantage in all sports if they're male to female, which isn't true. I looked into this pretty heavily. It definitely goes case by case, and the answer for pretty much everything is inconclusive. But the what's it called? The NCAA and the IOC, is that what it is? The European agency? They have concluded that 2 years of HRT negates any benefits that anybody could have. Now, I said this in David Pakman's subreddit, and bizarrely, a bunch of people said, wrong, HRT doesn't change organ size. Next. It's like, it actually does change like a lot more than you think, first of all. And second, I'm not sure what organ size has to do with it. You mean lung capacity? Is that what you're talking about? It actually does. It does affect all of that. In distance running, HRT for 2 years completely negates all benefits that a trans person would have. That being said, I don't think that it really matters because nobody is going to accept trans people in sports right now anyway, so it's a moot point. If they get a win, their win will be invalidated. They will be considered cheaters, no matter what. No matter what. Anyway, Cenk is coming into this conversation assuming that trans people have an unfair advantage, incorrectly as far as I can tell. Why would you say they should be allowed to compete in high school sports if you believe they have an unfair advantage? It's like he's compromising to try to build a bridge between us, but your compromise is nonsensical. Based on your ideological takes, you are a fool. What are you doing?
Now, my position on that is not overall popular in the country. I understand that, and I have a strategy for hopefully how to win on that in the long run. But I don't believe that they should be mandated to play in college and professional level. I think the league should get to make those decisions on their.
There you go. That's it. The league needs to make the decisions. I absolutely agree. I think pretty much everybody on the left agrees with that. The league should make the decisions, right? Like the IOC and whoever else. And they have all hired scientists to study the way that the lung capacity and how it changes over the years and things like that. And they've all concluded that basically 2 years of HRT, really less than that, like a lot less than that, evens out any benefits you could possibly have from this. So anyway, it's just, the problem is that no one is ever going to accept it. No one will ever accept the win, unfortunately, at this point, because of the panic.
Their own. I think that is a small disagreement. Obviously, others think that's a giant disagreement, but
nobody thinks that's a giant disagreement. We recognize that you don't realize that HRT negates basically all advantages. Like you're not looking at the studies that we have, the information that we have on the subject, I guess, and you're just trying to bridge a gap, and it makes you look like an idiot. That's all.
That's, again, not the issue here. I think what the issue is when others, among the issues, is when others say, only my opinion is the correct one, the moral one. Everyone who disagrees with me is unintelligent, immoral, collaborator, etc.
No. I think that you're a moron is the difference. I think that you are looking at things from a right-wing framing. That is the issue. You're taking the right-wing framing and seemingly not even examining the right or the left-wing framing or the reality framing, the understanding of how this works. I don't know how else to interpret what's happening right now.
Well, we'll get to the specifics on Francesca in a second.
Like, if you just understood the situation and the facts involved, you would come to the same conclusion as me. I'm 95% sure of that. If he just looked at the data for trans athletes or whatever, just looked at the data, I believe that he would come to the same conclusions. It's just he's looking at Republican data.
I'm saying that generally. and that they speak for the left. Well, let's find out if they do speak for the left. This is a little bit of Francesca, a little bit of Emma Vigeland from Majority Report, and spliced in is the actual facts.
Oh boy.
About what the American people think, and interestingly, what Democratic voters think. First, let's watch this.
Okay, I don't know what he's about to show us. I haven't seen this whole thing, but actually I haven't seen from this point forward, but I am ready to acknowledge that Democratic voters and voters more generally are taking a hard right shift right now.
I'm a big Messi fan, so, but let me just explain this to you.
Answer my question.
Wait, I didn't know she was on Piers Morgan. That's interesting.
Would you allow him, if he said, I'm a woman, to play in the American women's
You're using the
national
wrong
team?
pronoun
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Transgender female athletes.
Okay, I don't have any clue what the context was on that. She just said,
Yes, right now.
I think, what was she asked? If a non-trans person decided they were trans tomorrow and decided to compete in an Olympic league and was accepted into the Olympics with no further vetting, should they be allowed to? I don't believe that anybody is in favor of people just walking into the Olympics and saying I'm trans now and like just taking a spot in the Olympics. I don't know of anybody that believes that. But I feel like a lot of people on the left are falling into this trap where you should accept it that with no preconditions, no matter what, because these people reject it with no preconditions. And I think the answer is if HRT, or let me rephrase, if there is no statistical advantage, if there's no detectable advantage, they should be allowed to compete, period. And there isn't. That is everybody's line, really, in their heart of hearts. That's what everybody believes. It's just propaganda pushing its way in and saying there is definitely a statistical advantage, no matter what happens for Republicans. And for Democrats, they're basically just fighting against that.
Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Transgender female athletes in women's sports. Only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate.
Yeah, of course. It's a propaganda line. Yes, it's a panic, a moral panic. Anybody surprised by this?
In women's sports.
Your argument is really bad on this and you're out of your depth. You're correct that trans women should be able to compete in women's sports, but your argument for it is just scientifically and factually incorrect. I'm actually not bad about this. I'm 100% right on this. I don't give a the scientific explanations. People, if they identify as a woman, get to compete in sports. If that's not fair in the short term for a variety of little competitions, I don't give a
And I mean,
yeah. This is people, it sounds like they're getting annoyed with the degradation of rights completely pointlessly. But I agree that if there is an advantage, then we should look at it. There isn't. Maybe she's just trying to bypass the scientific argument because that's what people always go back to, even though they're wrong. I imagine that's probably what that was all about. Although I've noticed in a couple other cases, Emma Vigeland has kind of been very partisan and just like repeated shit that she very clearly had not thought out very much. Like she did it on Tim Pool's thing. And I feel this is probably another example of it. Maybe she hasn't thought it out very much.
my goodness gracious, 79%. You rarely get 79% of the...
Like, I'm not sure what point Cenk is getting at. Yes, I know. There's a moral panic and lots of people disagree with this position. Are you saying that makes the position correct? I don't know what you're trying to communicate.
Country to agree on anything.
Because the societal interest of including trans people in society trumps stupid competition. Full stop. So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
You'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy women's football forever. You'd let Usain Bolt.
Very difficult.
Hang on.
To get a ticket, which would suck.
I want to do a little checklist here. You'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team.
As long as Usain Bolt took 2 years of HRT and was examined to be sure that, the run speed was examined and the muscle fibers are examined and things like that to be sure that there is no statistical advantage, then I'm fine with that. I mean, Usain Bolt still trained for many, many years, and coming out as trans does not invalidate that training. He's still allowed to use that training that he had. And there's nothing morally wrong with that. There's no unfair advantage about him using the training or whatever. You know, I guess this is kind of like where people say, if you use steroids early on in your career to build up a bunch of muscle, and then you stop using the steroids once you have that muscle, should you be allowed to compete? I think the answer to that is no, because you don't want to encourage cheating specifically. But steroids didn't give you abnormally large muscles that are not attainable otherwise without steroids. Like you can attain that type of muscle mass naturally. It's just that steroids make it a lot faster and a lot easier. So anyway, it seems to me that like it doesn't really matter. This is just a logical argument on statistics from me. It seems like to me that it doesn't really matter if somebody like trained as a man and then transitioned to a woman. I think that's kind of pretty irrelevant. They still trained. Like they're still entitled to use that training, that benefit from that training that they got.
Yes.
Okay, you would let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing team?
As long as he took HRT. And I can't help but notice that he literally cut her off in the middle of a sentence. Like she didn't even get the rest of the word yeah out before that was just cut off. I have no idea what she said or what she was going to say or whatever. Does anybody else know what she was going to say? Was she going to say yeah with caveats? Because that's what it sounded like.
Opposing them in women's sports. You get 67% of Democrats, so 2/3 there. You get 64% of independents, so you get about 2/3 there.
So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
Again, like he's arguing that he's arguing that Emma is wrong on this because it's an unpopular position. Everybody knew it was unpopular.
Okay, generally speaking, if you want to say that you're right about something, sure, everybody has their own opinions and it's their opinions. That's why they think that they're right. It's another thing to say that you speak for the left. As you just saw there, 67% of Democrats have a position that is actually to the right of mine. I say that trans girls should be allowed to play in girls' sports in high school. 67% of Democrats say no.
Again, he's just trying to like build a bridge to show that he's not fully right wing. Like that doesn't convince me of anything, bro. It convinces me that you're a fool.
Not allowed in any women's sports. So I'll work on my Democratic brothers and sisters, and I'll try to get them to my position on that. Nothing wrong with disagreements. And if Emma, Francesca, and others can convince 79% of the nation that is opposed to that to come over to that side, fantastic. Happy to have it. Okay. So I think where the issue comes in is when things get personal. So we got 3 rules, generally speaking, on air here at TYT that are relatively bright lines. So one is, and I say relative, I'll explain that in a second. One is no lying. 2 is no threats of physical violence. And number 3 is don't denigrate personally the other hosts in the network.
Fair enough, absolutely. I can 100% accept those as rules. However, you are banning her not just from showing up on your channel, but showing up on an entire network, including satellite shows that other people host. And you're not just banning that type of talk, you're banning her personally from appearing.
Over and over and over again. And I say relatively bright lines because it should be relatively easy to follow, but I get that people have disagreements about, hey, what's a lie? Are what they say about crime stats a lie or not? No, I'm not gonna nitpick that. And we get into heated debates from time to time, me and Ben Glebe in the past, me, Ben Mankiewicz, me, Michael Schur, et cetera. And I love those debates. And somebody might cross the line and say something they shouldn't know, but we usually hug it out. And so I'm not nitpicking here. What we're looking for is, hey, are we all rowing generally in the same direction, or are some of us drilling holes in the boat? And so are you doing it over and over again on purpose to try to create an issue? Or even if you're not trying to do it, you are creating an issue by constantly attacking our own. And I have applied this 2 other times, which I'll tell you about in a minute. This all started, unfortunately, when I went on Francesca's show and we had what seemed like a normal conversation and debate about this issue until it made a turn. And this is part of the turn. Let me show you.
I remember this. If this is the appearance I think he's referring to, he fundamentally misunderstood like everything. He seems to fundamentally misunderstand the entire problem, honestly, based on what I've seen.
I'm reminded of the book by
Yeah. We watched this on air.
I think his name is Michael Schneider, on tyranny. And he wrote, it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say, my strategy will protect us, is he has this chapter, I'm gonna bring it up, the first part of it called Do Not Obey in Advance. And it's—
I read that book, and I personally honestly think that it sucks. It's not really a good book, but, you know. I mean, it doesn't misinform. I just think it's not very good.
He writes, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want, and then
it's absolutely 100% true what's being said here.
Offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other
100% accurate. Absolutely.
words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech because I'm going to do it for you, or you don't have to come to me.
Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. So you should.
This is just complete nonsense. Nobody is saying, stop saying what you're saying right now. They're saying, Cenk, you are incorrect. They're not saying, stop, like, obeying in advance or whatever, just for the sake of it. You're just wrong about what you're saying at this moment is all.
I didn't.
Stupid opinion.
So
and because you're implicating me.
I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get.
But I can show you more clips, man.
With us on things.
Yeah, you're incorrect. You are absolutely helping them, scratching their back, if you will. And I don't even know that it's intentional with Cenk. I'm not even convinced it's a grift. I think that he's just falling for right-wing framing of everything. I think that's what's happening. I think it's just about him being terribly misinformed and viewing Democrats through a deeply uncharitable lens.
Things we believe in and we've always believed in. And you go back to scratching their back.
At least the trains will run on time.
Ooh, that is a sick burn. If anybody is unfamiliar with the reference, it's Mussolini, claimed that he would make the trains run on time when he took control, but you had to accept fascism along with his rule. And in the end, he didn't even make the trains run on time.
The trains running on time, presumably a reference to Germany.
No, Mussolini. But okay, whatever.
Collaborator, and I'm scratching the right wing's back by having my opinion. The opinion I've always had, an opinion I've had for years, and you guys have seen for years on the show. But if you don't agree with Francesca in that particular case, and some other folks in the extreme left, well, you're not allowed to have that opinion.
It's complete nonsense. You just don't understand what she's saying? I don't know what the deal is here.
It's immoral by definition. And how dare you disagree with them? That makes you a right winger, a collaborator, et cetera. But if you say, hey, Cenk, look, I know that she's quoting someone, collaborating with an authoritarian government and saying that that's what you're doing and you're helping the right wing. And that she's not open to the idea of, hey, maybe there's a different strategy and a different opinion on this.
I found the entrance. I found it. Oh my God, I couldn't find it for the life of me. I'm gonna mark this down in my thing so that I can come back for it another time.
That gets us the same result, protecting trans folks or whichever topic we're talking about. Okay, if you're not, and at that point, I certainly hadn't done anything. I think that was, I didn't appreciate that, but that's okay. We kept going, and she's been on the network since. Then she started to do more and more and more, and it got more and more personal. So after that discussion, this happened.
Again, don't have her on your show if you don't want at all with you as a host, and don't put anything on where she's criticizing or talking shit or whatever. You're totally within your rights to guide it toward a different subject, but to ban everything on a network that size is not okay.
I like that we can both be very Mediterranean about it and get super mad, but then rein it in and be cool and then be yeah, we're just gonna yell and then we're gonna be fine and then we're gonna get over it. So that's the kind of beer I like to have.
Yes. And thank you.
2 days later.
I mean, I have my own thoughts on why he's doing it. I think, if you think your brain was broken by the 2024 election.
So Is Cenk implying that it's impossible to... All right, let me rephrase. Is Cenk implying that there should be no lines, there should be no boundaries, that if crossed, you just stop talking to somebody? I don't believe in shunning, but that's not even what's happening here. She has a line where she said, okay, he's gone like way too far. This is completely unacceptable, and I don't like what he's doing. I want nothing to do with it. That's the line that she's drawing. It's a political line as a political figure. And it's kind of absurd that he's like mocking her for this.
I think we're looking at a case where someone's brain was broken even harder.
Okay, so, but look, guys, if she had said that about another host, I probably would have drawn the line there. But it's about me, so I wanted to give more leeway. My brain is broken. And by the way, that's still, okay, the first time she's getting super personal. Collaborator, maybe that's a political opinion. Now we're a broken brain, even though we were supposed to have a beer and we were supposed to hash it out and be okay afterwards, but apparently not okay afterwards. But then that was the tip of the iceberg. She continued again and again. Here's the next one.
I do think it's sad that even though they allow people like us into the fold and the fray, they refuse to learn from us or listen to us. And I think that when you have been doing this work for so long, and you still cannot grasp the idea of intersectionality, how race and gender and class all intertwine with one another, and how the right, the fascist goal is to divide us based on these lines. Like, I don't know like who you are. Like, I don't even know if you're smart. You know what I mean? I don't even know. First of all, I don't know who your political mentors are. I don't know who you look up to. I don't know what your touchstones are. I don't know if you know your history in terms of like civil rights, women's rights, gay rights struggle in this country. I don't know anything. I call into question all of that. It sounds like you are just an opportunistic mouthpiece who wants clicks time and time again.
Okay, so obviously it's getting deeply personal there, opportunistic mouthpiece.
Did she even mention him in that? I didn't think that, wait, maybe I missed it. Did I miss it? It didn't even feel like she was talking about him there.
Can't grasp simple concepts, not smart. But guys, and I'm not angry. Look, people have different opinions and they want to make it personal. It is what it is, right? I'm more sad about it. You know, I'll say something at the end about that. But to me,
you know, there was a time when I was dealing with this whole thing. There was a big kerfuffle, if you will, and even if you won't, there was a big mess that happened where somebody basically in the community was making this big deal over all the left-wing YouTubers. All of them are anti-trans and they're opposed to trans people basically competing in sports and everything. And I had literally not heard of this at all. This is like years and years and years ago, before this was really a big issue at the time. Before it was a Republican panic. I had no idea what it was about or what was going on or whatever. And I didn't like speak on the issue, but I knew this person that was involved in the drama because this person made a video about the subject and they got like attacked relentlessly for it. And I got dragged in just by knowing this person. Like, I didn't even talk to them. I'm not even their friend. I just knew the person. And I got dragged in just for knowing the person. And it turned into this thing where it wasn't just like criticizing the idea that I'm not talking about this or whatever. It turned into slander, like really, like people, this one person slandering me, lying and claiming that I am like anti-trans and that I am in favor of gay genocide. I'm not joking. They said that I am in favor of gay genocide. Really. It got so insane and intense. It got like millions of views, lots and lots and lots of attention. And I was looking for some way to like file a lawsuit because I was getting like death threats. And it wasn't just me. It was like a bunch of people. It was insane. Oh my God. If there is a situation like that, like some people are like that. Some people look for opportunities to lie and slander and destroy and hurt people. And yes, it was on Twitter. They look for opportunities to slander and lie and hurt people. If it's that type of person, that type of situation, absolutely justified. Get them out of your sphere completely. It's not fair criticism. None of it was fair criticism. But Francesca is not like leveling unfair criticism at Cenk, no matter how you view it. Like, even if you disagree with what Cenk is saying, it's not unfair to like bring up. Like, she isn't saying that he is in favor of genociding trans people. That would be unfair criticism. Anyway, if it were a situation like the one that I was in, I suppose justified, but not here. This is really, really ridiculous and stupid and sad that what he's doing. Just petty and censorship. It's censorship. Unjustified censorship.
The attitude that is toxic, and that's what I don't want at TYT. I want to build a community that is really open to conversations.
Absolutely get that. 100%. I understand. But that doesn't even come close to representing what's happening right now. She's not being toxic for the sake of being toxic. She's not just trying to burn people to the ground because she wants to, like in the other situation. She's leveling honest criticism. That's the word I'm looking for. Honest. She's being honest about her criticisms.
They refuse to learn from us. So the idea is, well, obviously,
but they're literally saying the same thing about you.
I'm right and the only moral center of the universe. And I already told him that, and this guy wouldn't even learn from me. It's just such a deeply arrogant thought.
Point is, if somebody is intentionally, maliciously slandering somebody, it's totally justified to like remove them from your sphere entirely. I absolutely understand that. But that's not what she's doing. Her criticisms are made in good faith and they're honest criticisms.
It's just such a deeply arrogant thought. That if someone disagrees with you, they need to be re-educated.
Nobody said that. You used that word. That is your word. Who the fuck said that? What are you talking about?
And maybe they haven't read any books at all. Okay.
Who said that?
Did she stop there? Of course not.
And yes, as I told Cenk, I do feel very implicated. I have felt implicated by their takes, specifically around crime and policing in years past, definitely by this new heel turn since Trump's reelection, and absolutely by the misrepresentation of the Los Angeles fires and who the responsibility lies on. It is enraging, to say the least.
The Los Angeles fires are not the responsibility of the mayor. They're apparently the responsibility of Republicans, or I don't know. I don't know what her thought on that is. And
I'm sorry, let me step back, listen one more time to kind of take in what she was saying. I'll just start from here.
Yes, as I told Cenk, I do feel very implicated. I have felt implicated by their takes, specifically around crime and policing in years past, definitely by this new heel turn since Trump's reelection, and absolutely by the misrepresentation of the Los Angeles fires and who the responsibility lies on.
Right, because Republicans claimed incorrectly that the LA fires were a result of, or exacerbated by, anyway, like California Democratic politicians who cut the fire budget. But that didn't happen. The fire budget went up, not down. Certain programs were cut in a fiscal year and others were increased dramatically. So this was not the fault of Democrats, the LA fires. They were not. That's the point. And Republicans were blaming Democrats incorrectly.
It is enraging, to say the least.
The Los Angeles fires are not the responsibility of the mayor. They're apparently the responsibility of Republicans, or I don't know.
No, that's not what she said. She said that Republicans are blaming the mayor when it's not the mayor's fault that this shit happened. Are you serious? How can you say this stupid shit with a straight face? Really? Like, this makes me feel like it's not good faith, what he's saying here. It makes me feel like he knows what he's saying is a lie and he's saying it anyway, intentionally. Like, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? This is nonsense.
No, I don't know what her thought on that is, and I don't know why she's enraged by that, but that's okay. Apparently, I've taken a heel turn. By the way, all those folks, not just Francesca, but others that told you we're right wing, you watch the show every single day, you see us criticizing Trump and Elon Musk over and over and over and over again.
I don't care who you criticize. I care about the fact that you are repeating Republican propaganda and lies on behalf of the Republican Party. Dude, where the hell did my... Oh, God, this cave, if it were a snake, it would have bit me.
Telling you how they're going to do a $4.5 trillion robbery in those tax cuts. Yesterday, we talked about how they're already, hammering Social Security and costing good Americans, what they need from Social Security, how they're going to cut $800 billion from Medicaid, how there's a series of robberies on the way, et cetera. But it's okay. Let's just simplify things and say anyone who disagrees with us a little bit is a right winger. But
nobody said that. Nobody says anybody that disagrees with you even a little bit is a right winger. Nobody. Wasn't even implied. Okay? It's that you are falling for right wing framing. That's the problem. And why is this picture not being taken? Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. They're going to grab me. They're going to grab me.
Good news is, at least Francesca will not be implicated anymore. And I never understood that because she's been saying this for a long time now, that she was implicated by us.
Yeah, you're repeating Republican propaganda and she's associated with you. Of course she feels like that, obviously.
And why keep taking a check? And it's not a big check. And Francesca has had, a career before us. She talks.
Well, I mean, she's not taking a check, first of all, to my knowledge, like anymore. She's distanced. But I don't know how their network works, but I do know how some networks operate. And if it's anything like the networks that I've seen operate, you're basically paying her royalties. She's getting royalties from you because you released her videos forever ago, and those videos are still making money, so that money goes to her. It's owed to her. Why keep taking a check? Because it's her money that you are transferring to her. I have no problem with her, quote unquote, taking a check from you if it's owed to her, and it is.
About that, of course she did, and she'll have a career after us. There's no problem with that. So why, if you think we're collaborators and we've taken a heel turn and we're working with fascists, why did you choose to get implicated with us all these days? But good news.
I mean, that's the thing. She didn't know that you were doing a heel turn until just now, and now she's not working with you. Are you serious with this? This is like the most vapid, nonsensical critique